Makes me feel like a man.
You want every team to lose any other game? Sorry. Bailey Zappi just put another dime. You know what? Whoa, time out. Are you kidding? That's what I'm gonna try to drop a mic.
Hey, let's hear these lists. I'm ready to.
Okay.
I'm ready to. Get
So, all right. So, Brandon, I don't know if you saw this or not, but couple weeks ago, or last week, it may have been, I did a list of the top 14 quarterbacks going into the playoffs. It stirred up a little controversy. People were a little upset about the list and about how I had it. And so
Keenan excluded all the white quarterbacks. It was pretty.
I decided to. Never had seen it before. It was never for. So I was like, okay, whatever. Didn't like the whites, but anyways. So this one I decided to go top 8 because obviously there's only 8 teams left, and I did it at every position. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I didn't do offensive line. Sorry, offensive lines. I did defenses, and then I did just teams overall.
Tim's upset about that.
Sorry, Tim. I'm sorry, offensive lines. I mean, I
wanted it individual. Give me the best center, guard, tackle, all of it.
Okay, left tackle 49ers doesn't matter after that. But okay, so so what list would you guys like first?
You present it. You go ahead.
Okay, Tim, do you have a list that you want to hear first in particular?
Give me the tight ends. You did tight ends?
Yes, I did tight ends.
Let's give them some love.
So I'm gonna go from 8 to 1. 8, I've got Luke Musgrave. At 7, I've got Cade Otton. I don't have Mark Andrews in this because I was considering him not healthy. So I don't, because I did not know he was going to play this week. So I had 8 healthy tight ends. I could insert him if you would like me to. He would be obviously in the top 4. But I can insert him if you'd prefer, but I don't have him here because I didn't think he was going to be healthy.
Where would you have him?
Let me get through this list, and I'll answer that question after.
Fair.
So Cade Otton is at 7, Luke Musgrave 8. I have Isaiah Likely at 6. I have Dalton Schultz at 5. I have Dalton Kincaid at 4. You could switch those to me, and I would be okay. At 3, I have Travis Kelce. At 2, I have Sam Laporta. At 1, I have George Kittle. Right now, I would have Mark Andrews probably 3 above Travis Kelce, but then it'd be between Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. They'd be my 3-4.
Quick rebuttal, and then I'll let everyone else chime in. I think Kelsey's entirely too overrated on that list. I think 3's way too high, but I have someone I would switch with him, but I'll get to that after. And then the top 2 I agree with, Laporta and Kittle. I might even switch it. I might have Laporta 1. As far as Kelce goes, if you would have him and Cade Otton switched, I wouldn't hate it. Otton's been playing at a high level pretty much the entire second half of the year. Made plays last week. Kelce hasn't done much. So I'll let y'all respond, but I would not be mad at a Cade Otton, Travis Kelce switch.
I think that is crazy, but go on.
Tell me what Kelsey's done in the last 8 weeks. That would be
more than Cade Otton. By
it doesn't seem it. If that's the case, it does not seem it. It seems like
all right.
Otton's
Since December,
way more.
Since December, Kelsey's 4 catches, 81 yards, 6 catches, 83 yards, 5 for 28, 5 for 44, 3 for 16, 7 for 71. Is that great? All time great? Obviously not. But Cade Otton since December, 2 for 16, 2 for 44, 1 for 7, 2 for 10, 2 for 30, 8 for 89. Literally, the last game's the only thing.
Let me eat some crow here. What if I got Cade Otton mixed up with Cole Kmet? Got my white tight ends mixed up. My fault. But I did think Otton was playing at a higher level. It does honestly seem like the last month, Otton is at least scoring more than Kelce. I'll say that.
But if you got Cade Otton mixed with Cole Kmet, That's actual. You could compare their last 6 weeks.
Komet's been balling.
Because Komet was 5 for 66, 5 for 23, 4 for 107, 3 for 41 over his since December, since that's what I was doing for everybody. So, okay with that one. But, I mean, Kelce, if he would have played in week 18, would have over 1,000 yards this season, too, in the very down year. So, I just want to give him credit. He was 984
I'd still have
yards this
Kelce
season.
outside my top 3. I'll say that.
Are you including Mark Andrews in
odds.
yours? Are you including Mark Andrews in yours, or are you not including Mark Andrews in yours?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay. I'm just checking because I wanted to know if he was the reason.
If he was playing, obviously he would be top 3. He'd kind of have to be, especially with how him and Lamar have such a rapport.
Yeah.
But Kelce, definitely not his best effort this season. But I'll let y'all respond.
All right, whoever wants to go next, go next.
I think Kittle at 1. I can get down with that. I'm going to throw Mark Andrews on mine with him practicing in full.
Fair enough.
I'd have to think there's a pretty strong chance that he plays. I don't know what I'd do with Laporta and Andrews. I love Laporta. I also love Mark Andrews. I feel like that's kind of like one of those 1A, 1B things.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably go Laporta just because the fact that Mark Andrews is coming off of a pretty gruesome injury. So it might take him a little time to round out the form. Now, if Mark Andrews was completely healthy, then he'd be my number 2, maybe number 1. Kelce's probably going to be 4 for me, maybe 5. The only tight end that I'd put over him would be maybe Dalton Kincaid. But I agree with what you were saying. I think Kelce's got to be 4, and then the rest of my list is pretty identical.
All right, Timmy, how about yourself?
I'll leave Mark Andrews off until we see him play. But
Fair.
I think I would actually keep Kelce at 3. But a bit of a hot take, I would take Isaiah Likely over Dalton Kincaid and Dalton Schultz. I think he's a little bit more athletic. He's not a bruiser. He's not a big guy. But he's been playmaker. Since he took over as the tight end, he's been a tight end 1. So he's probably going to get shadowed if Mark Andrews comes back, and, we'd never hear about him again. But he played really well when he needed to. Seems to be a favorite target of Lamar. Kept that offense rolling. So I'll take him, put him up at like 4, but I think I would keep Kelce at 3. Kelce definitely didn't impress, but we've definitely had some recency bias because we've always seen Kelce be really, really good. So like a nice 6-game stretch where he's not that Kelce, of course, we're going to think he's not as good anymore. But putting him at 6 or 7, no, you can't do that. I would take Kelce over Kincaid and Schultz as well. So
Yeah.
I said
likely
that
up.
Kate on statement with full confidence.
When you said it, I was like,
I do.
I played him
Sorry,
in fantasy
what?
plenty of times this year, and I remember him getting me 0 points. I'm like, this man, there's no shot he's talking about the Kate Otten that I know. Like he played a good game this week against the Eagles, 100%. He played a good game.
Cade Cunningham?
Yeah, I was like,
It was very recency bias, is what you could say. It was very recency bias.
Yeah.
I just want to add to Tim's point,
Go on.
on the fact of Likely, the high level that Likely's been playing since Andrews went out. If he's playing at that same level in the playoffs, and let's say Mark Andrews does play this week, whatever, and we're working way back into the championship game next week, assuming like we all picked that they're in the playoff game, the championship game. Likely and Andrews as a duo, that's scary.
Nasty.
Like
Yeah,
that's
nasty.
scary. Like that's someone, like, they already blew out the Niners. If they got that going into the Super Bowl, and that's the hypothetical 1v1 matchup, Baltimore versus the Niners, like, damn, that's scary for anybody, let alone the Niners. So that's something to watch out for that we didn't even mention in our build up to the Baltimore Ravens and Texans. So just want to throw that out.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to even bolster your point, Kyle, to talk about that one. He's not better than Mark Andrews by any means. He gives that offense a different facet, though. It's like he's a more athletic guy. He's better with the ball in his hands. Obviously,
Martellus Bennett. He reminds me so much of Martellus Bennett.
Mark Andrews is clearly the better target, better hands. But like, if you're thinking about throwing a 4-yard out to somebody, you're gonna throw it to Likely because Likely can make that 12. If you're thinking about you need 3rd and 8. you need a catch, you're throwing to Mark Andrews. Wherever he is, like it's sure hands, you're just throwing it to Mark Andrews. Not that Likely can't make one, but it's Mark Andrews. So like Mark Andrews is better, but Likely, I don't mind you having him a little bit above them. I think they're in a class of like you could kind of talk about them like together-ish. So next list, I'm gonna go wide receivers. Stay with the pass catchers. From 8 to 1. 8 was very tough for me. 8
Time out,
was
Keenan.
What's up?
You might be interested in this.
Yep.
Bill O'Brien was just hired as the Ohio State OC. I don't know if you saw that. So Patriots have an OC opening.
Oh man, I actually now have I have Ohio State ties. I don't like that. I'm glad he's off of New England, but I now have Ohio State ties, so I don't really love that. But thank you, Kyle, for that information. So 8. 8, you could give me 4 guys. I'm going to give you the 3 guys that I didn't have. Jaden Reed, Zay Flowers. Oh, there was one more that I'm not thinking about. I'll think about it later. Maybe it gets brought up. I picked Christian Watson because I feel he's the better receiver, but injury is what took him. We have to think about what we thought about him last year and how he's actually played this year minus the playoff game. He was towards the back half of the season, he was actually becoming what we thought Christian Watson was again. I think it was more of the injury than him taking a step back. If you have Zay Flowers or have Jaden Reed ahead of him, no arguments because it literally took me 15 minutes to decide between them. But 7, I have Nico Collins. At 6, I have Rashee Rice. At 5, I have Brandon Ayuk. At 4, I have Mike Evans. At 3, I have Stephon Diggs, 2 Amon-Ra St. Brown, and 1 Deebo Samuel. This is not strictly off of how they're playing just right now at this moment because Diggs wouldn't be on my list if that was the case. But it also, but it has to do with how good I think they are, plus kind of how they're playing and things like that. It's a combination. But the top 6 from 6 to 1 is Rashee Rice at 6, Brandon Ayuk at 5, Mike Evans at 4, Stephon Diggs at 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 2, and Deebo Samuel at 1. I almost put Amon-Ra at 1, but I think Deebo, because of how versatile he is a little better. But again, just pure receiver, I think Amon-Ra's a better receiver. Deebo's just such a better utility guy.
I wouldn't be mad at switching Evans with Diggs at 4 and 3. And you could low-key even talk me to Ayuk creeping into that top 4. You got him at 5. You could tell me he's in that top 4. Yeah. As far as that last spot, Watson or Zay Flowers or Jaden Reed, I might lean towards one of those two over Christian Watson, honestly, just because of the injuries.
Oh, Chris Godwin was
in general.
Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
Those are the 4. Like, pick any one of them at 8. I'm not arguing. I think the top 7 are solidified, but the 8th one you could.
I agree with you with the fact that Watson's probably the best pure receiver out of that group. But if you're just talking Packers receivers, I would say Reed's outplaying him right now. Yep. Right? It seems like Reed's the more go-to option there.
Maybe Dobbs.
I was about to say Dobbs has to be in that conversation because Jaden Reed gets phased out when Christian Watson. Jaden Reed last week had 0 catches for 0 yards because Christian Watson was playing. Week, because that's when Christian Watson wasn't playing.
Do you remember the last game Dobbs had prior to last week?
I don't care, but he's at least been a little bit more consistent. We don't see 0 catches for 0 yards. He's at least always in the game plan. Whereas Jaden Reed is only
1 catches for 4 yards. He had 0 catches for 0 yards against the Bears.
What week? What week was that?
Week 18.
Don't matter.
No,
I do want to throw a name out there. Go ahead.
Yep.
So I wouldn't put him. I'm not saying he's going top 8. A guy that I want to see, like I want to see what he's going to be able to do. Is Odell Beckham. I think Odell Beckham is going to come up huge for Baltimore.
Listen, he's going to make their biggest plays. If I could put Odell at 1, I would. MVP. I do. If I could put him at 1, I would put him at 1. So like, I'm a huge Odell.
I looked at like a snap count and it was like 40%. Like they've been saving him for a play.
Absolutely. You saw towards the back half of the season, you saw some games where you're like, oh, okay, it looks like he has some burst again. He kind of looks like Rams Odell. Okay, they're just saving him up. No, I honestly think Odell can he's been in big moments before. Obviously, he's a Super Bowl champion. Clearly, he didn't finish the game, but he started the game on Super Bowl MVP pace. So yeah. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns about the wide receiver list?
To me, Rice versus any one of that Packers trio, I think that's a real debate too. Obviously, Rice is the one we like the most out of that receiving core for Kansas City. He's been the most consistent, but it's also like, is he really a number one, or is he the number one because of necessity? He's definitely talented. He's definitely got pop to him, and he's definitely the most reliable on Kansas City right now. But I just wonder if he that way out of necessity, or is he really better than, or obviously being at 6, he's still in that same class. But I think you'd have an argument for the Packers trio, and I forget who you had at 7 exactly.
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, yeah. I mean, you could throw him there as well. So, but overall, good list.
Nico's tough. He's good. I think
and the thing with that, Keenan, is if the Texans had Tank Dell, is Nico Collins even in that top 8? We might.
Christian Watson's not in that top 8. Christian Watson's not in that top 8. No, Nico Collins would be in the top 8. He'd just be 8, and Tank Dell would be above him. Dell would be above. It wouldn't be like high above it. Tank Dell would just be above him. Tank Dell would probably be at 6. I would put him above Rashee Rice and Nico Collins. He'd be behind Brandon Ayuk if Tank Dell was there. But Timmy.
Just got word in. Romeo Doubs sustained a chest injury week 18 versus the Bears, so he did not actually really play in that game. Just saying.
He said just got word. I thought he was breaking up fucking like coaching news or something like that.
October 9th, 2023, I believe he had 1 catch for 4 yards against the Raiders. This isn't all
right. Okay. I'll get my assistant on that.
You know how basketball players, equal opportunity offense. That is what this Packers team is. You can get Christian Watson 1 week, get Wicks 1 week, get Reed 1 week. You can get Dobbs 1 week. You got Bo Melton a couple weeks ago to have over 100. So yeah. But
I'm gonna start breaking news by saying just got word, because I got hype when Tim said that. So that's gonna be my new thing. Like, I'm like, guys, I just got word, but it's gonna be a letdown. It's gonna be a letdown.
Just got word they got new waters in the vending machine, man. Like, let's go. They refilled the waters, man.
That's gonna be my new move. That's gonna be my new move for sure.
Guys, you would have thought it was like, hey, just got word Aaron Rodgers retired or something crazy. You would have thought there was
something huge.
Aaron Rodgers' Achilles exploded again. He was walking up the stairs this time. I don't know what it was, but
he lost his whole ankle.
Last thing I want to say about this receiving list, I mentioned Ayuk. It's everyone's favorite thing to say, like T. Higgins could be a number 1. I don't think Ayuk gets that same love, and I think Ayuk could be a number 1 in certain offenses for sure. So I think he's severely underrated.
You could take Ayuk. I mean, Ayuk is now, before the season, I had him around like the 25 to 30th range because of how many great receivers there were. He's up in a top 15. He's not top 10, and it's only because of how many great receivers are in the league. You can't. Like, there's about 22 receivers that you feel are top 10. You just have to rank them. So it's crazy. You have, obviously, you have people who are solidified. I don't need to go into the list now. But we're going to go into this running back list is what we're going to do. Running back. So at 8, I have a slash between Devin Singletary and Gus Edwards. I'm going to take Devin Singletary, but I think that they're close to the same guy. At 7, I have Rashad White. At 6, I have James Cook. At 5, I have David Montgomery. At 4, I have Isaiah Pacheco. 3, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. 2, Aaron Jones. 1, Christian McCaffrey. If you wanted to switch Pacheco and Gibbs, I would be fine with that too.
Good list overall. I don't really have much to argue there. I don't like James Cook. I don't dislike him. It just upsets me that every time he has the ball, I still like, oh, that's Dalvin Cook, and it's not Dalvin Cook. Like, he just looks like him. So for that reason, I would have. Who'd you have behind him?
I had Rashad White.
You could. I think White's very underrated. I like the way White runs, so you could talk me into him over James Cook. Other than that, I like that list a lot.
I think they're both similar backs. They both are good between the tackles sneakily, but they're also very good receiving backs. James Cook became a very big option in the receiving game once Ken Dorsey got fired. So, yeah, but Brandon, you were going to say something before I rudely interrupted.
I like the list. I'm the opposite of Kyle. I'm big on James Cook. I love James Cook. I think he's a really good. I think he's a good 3-down running back. I think he's well rounded. I think he can go in between the tackles, outside the tackles. But I mean, it's hard to put him in the top 5 or even the top 6 because it's like Checo, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones right now is definitely top 2. You know, I think McCaffrey and Jones. I think James Cook. But then again, I don't know where I put him at. If I was going to go higher with him. So I think Gibbs, I think you could put Gibbs at 3. Maybe I think you could put Gibbs 2.
Him.
And I would be okay with it. I'm not saying that
it's interesting. It's just interesting because Gibbs, like when Montgomery was out and it was just his backfield, we saw him just go off.
Oh yeah.
And then obviously like now they have like such a system. Like Montgomery typically gets the entire first drive. Gibbs will get the entire second drive. See how they're both going, and then the game will kind of flow between there. But so it's like he's almost like half of what he is, but he's still so electric, which is why he's at 3 because he can catch, he can run, he can get down. Like he's got explosion. But yeah,
he's everything Reggie Bush was supposed to be.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
Timmy. How about yourself?
I agree with the Jahmyr Gibbs could be number 2. I think he's one of the more talented backs here. I think if David Montgomery wasn't there, I think we would probably have Gibbs at 2 because we would have just seen so much more from him. I agree with Brandon. I think James Cook is probably better than Rachaad White, and I actually think James Cook is better than David Montgomery, to be honest with you. I think Montgomery gets a lot of hype because he scores a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of those touchdowns are like from the 4-yard line. Where plenty of backs would score. So my only gripe is Keenan left off the best running back. Lamar Jackson isn't even on this list. He pushed 8 off. Gus, get him out of here, whoever it was. Lamar won.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
If Lamar, honestly, if you had him as a running back, he'd probably be 2 or 3, depending on how I felt in the day. Like McCaffrey's obviously just the one. Like McCaffrey really not at 1, it just makes it so this isn't a list anymore. Like I didn't have him at 1. I'm shut down from doing a list for the rest of 2024. I may be able to pick it up in 2025, maybe. So
not for nothing. Like just to quip this here, Lamar's like one of the only quarterbacks that truly like does run through the tackles like a running back. Like Hurts is obviously a physical quarterback, and Cam Newton, like obviously like him and Josh Allen, they can bully people. But like Lamar hits the hole like a goddamn running back, like for real. Like he does. I don't know. He's beautiful to watch run, honestly. Like he just kind of glides.
He has like a Lev Bell to him where he's so patient, but like a quicker step. So like he's just like he waits, and then it's gone. But then he never hits full speed, which pisses me off. It'll forever piss me off. Like he just needs to go. Like I need to one time, like Allen's run. I need to see that from Lamar. Like just where he just. Beautiful. Like he just like the closest thing we got it actually was against the Bills in the wild card game. If you're thinking playoffs in the regular season, would have been his one against the Bengals where he was doing whatever you wanted to in that one. that was electric. But okay, so I'll go to top 8 defenses.
We got to speed this up too because it is getting late. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, no, we're good. Top 8 defenses.
Tim starts his new job at the Mill tomorrow.
At 5 a.m.
4:30 a.m. Got to get there early for the first day.
Is that an Irish accent? What the hell was that?
I was just trying to do like first day, bro. Like the dad on Courage the Cowardly Dog. He's like,
I don't know if I've seen a full episode of that, so I can't even.
The only thing I think of is Naughty. That one guy.
Naughty.
Like, oh Jesus! All right. So
Y'all are crazy.
yeah, okay, to get through this, 8 Detroit Lions, 7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6 Green Bay Packers, 5 Houston Texans, 4 Buffalo Bills, 3 Kansas City Chiefs, 2 San Francisco 49ers, 1 Baltimore Ravens. Kyle, I know you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is
Bias.
better than the Packers.
Packers should be
You
8.
I can't have the Packers that high. I would for sure at least flip the Bucks
I
there. And
think-
you could talk me into the Bucks being top 5, honestly.
So, I mean, they would be ahead of probably the Texans you would have there.
Yes, Texans I
think-
couldn't have in the top 5 either.
I think that the Texans are an underrated defense. I think they've been creating turnovers and creating touchdowns over these last 4 weeks. I think that Will Anderson's become a guy who's actually getting to the quarterback, not just pressuring there as well. I think they've got a good defense over there. D'Amico Ryans is doing a good job there. So I definitively have them in the top 5. If you want to have the Bucks above the Packers, sure. And then the Packers, I think, have a more well-rounded defense than the Lions. I think, as we said, the Lions are Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Branch, and that it comes down to that. I think the Packers have a more well-rounded defense. So if you want to say the Bucks are better, fine. I wouldn't say it's a bias thing. I think that they're 6 and 7, but I don't. The top 5 to me are.
I just said bias because you picked the Packers to win this weekend. So you had to justify
I mean, it would have been biased. I mean, I have the 49ers at 2. It would have been biased if I had the 49ers at 5.
49ers at 8. I definitely don't have it in them this year.
Man, that Nick Bosa guy's okay, I guess.
What's your top 5? What's your top 5?
Houston Texans 5, Buffalo Bills 4, Kansas City Chiefs 3, San Francisco 49ers 2, Ravens 1. Honestly, you could talk me into switching the Chiefs and the 49ers. I wouldn't be.
Honestly, so you had Ravens 1. Sorry, I was.
Yeah,
I was
Ravens are 1,
mine.
and that's a definitive lock it in 1.
You could, and I don't want it to make it seem like bias towards the Bucks here, but you could talk me into the Bucks at number 4. I think that's way too high for the Bills. I don't think the Bills defense is good. I don't think the Packers defense is good. I was really in love with the Cowboys winning last week for that reason. And I actually like the Lions defense a little better than the Packers. And I'm not a big fan of the Lions defense either, but I think they can at least stop you in the red zone. So yeah, I don't know where exactly that would shake out for my list, but I would have the Bills lower. I would have the Pack lower. I'd probably have them last like Tim, honestly. And then the Lions somewhere in that 6-7 range after that.
Your list sounds like it's Packers 8, either Texans 7 or Lions 7, 6, doesn't really matter. Bills 5, Buccaneers 4, Chiefs 3 or 2, 49ers 3 or 2, and Ravens 1. So
when you put it like that, I might even have the Texans there by default. Like I think the Texans aren't a bad defense and are not a good defense. But like you said, they're creating turnovers. So I think I'd have them in the 5 spot. But yeah, the Bills would have to be lower, even though they've summed up some good performances. But you really just never know what you're getting week to week. I mean, the Steelers really didn't have too much trouble moving the ball on them. But yeah, Chiefs, Niners, Ravens in any order would be in my top 3. You could even talk to me about the Chiefs being 2. Yeah.
Timmy, do you have your last thoughts? All right,
I agree with how we remade it. I think Texans going against the Bills, they could be like right there with them. So 5 and 6 is between Texans Bills for me. I would have Lions 7, Packers 8, and then 4 would be
you have Tampa.
I would take the Tampa Bay defense over the Bills. I think I definitely would. Yeah, and then 3, I agree. You could definitely talk me into Chiefs over 49ers. But a lot of the times the 49ers win because their offense just dominates and controls the ball. So we don't get to see a lot of the shutdown. So
fair enough. Alrighty. So then we are at, I'm going to go quarterbacks.
See, I think, is that last? Is QB last?
Sorry, no, I was going to say we have teams. Would you rather teams or quarterbacks?
Save. Yeah, okay, we'll do quarterbacks. We'll do quarterbacks then, yeah.
Oh, God, 8 and 7.
And I want to hear how this compares to your original 14, like what your top 8 was last time and what your top 8 is now.
So I'd have to organize it different. Okay, so Baker Mayfield is 8, Brock Purdy 7. I almost want to switch that, but that's right. Whatever. I don't even.
And you
care.
had Purdy 7 last time.
I
That's
had Purdy.
consistent.
I had Baker was the lowest. Brock Purdy was 7. Jared Goff 6. Jordan Love 5. C.J. Stroud 4. Josh Allen 3. Patrick Mahomes 2. Lamar Jackson 1. 1, 2, and 3 are all the same. C.J. actually and 4. I had C.J. Those are my top 4. Jordan Love hopped ahead of Jared Goff. I had Jared Goff, but I had the same list. I have the same exact order. Actually, what am I talking about? Other than Brock Purdy, I think was above Jared Goff, but I think I had the same exact order. So.
Okay. Before, I think going into this, I think me and Tim especially were like Goff ahead of Love. Now I think it's completely justifiable after last week, regardless if you want to say Dan Quinn was prepared or unprepared. You cannot argue Jordan Love or Stroud being that high. I could make the case maybe Josh Allen ahead of Mahomes, just, not off of their lifetime, obviously, but as of the last 12 weeks, 10 weeks, I could argue Josh Allen being 2. Honestly, you could even argue Josh Allen being 1, even though Lamar's going to be the MVP. But yeah. I can't really debate that because, what your list was originally kind of shook out to fruition, at least in that Goff, Jordan Love, Stroud department. Like Stroud and Love fucking showed up. Will they continue that? We'll see. So I'm interested to hear your rankings after this weekend.
Yeah, as I'm saying, also Jared Goff, fun fact, was like 22 of 22 when not pressured against the Rams. He was literally perfect.
They took their foot off the gas in that game. Like they got, pretty conservative, which is unlike Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, not Dan Quinn. It's completely unlike them to, go that conservative and not be aggressive. And yeah, I feel like they almost could have put it to the Rams, honestly, if they wanted to, or at least made it tougher on them. But yeah, I don't like how they closed the game, honestly. The Lions.
Timmy, any questions, comments, concerns?
I'm just trying to think. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If you start a franchise right now, would you take Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud?
C.J. Stroud.
Okay. It's interesting because J.J. Watt tweeted and he said that Pro Football Focus graded both of their games and Jordan Love got a high 90 or a low 90 and C.J. Stroud
got like a 90. Yeah.
And C.J. Stroud got
92.
a 78 because he just didn't make like smarter throws. He was just making
he threw one interceptable ball, and that docked his grade. The Brevin Jordan touchdown, it was like a 4-yard out.
Yeah, they didn't give him any
like
points.
It wasn't a high quality throw. It was just basically run after the catch. I know they probably docked him a touch for barely missing Nico on that. I don't understand how it was a 92 to 77. You can't convince me the guys who went 16 of 21, 16 of 22, the same exact yards, pretty much 3 touchdowns at a 157.2 passer rating were in different stratospheres, but that's okay. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that rating is just based off of, like you said, the throws.
Yeah, like decisions. It's not even necessarily throws. It's just why did you throw it to that guy when you could have thrown it over here? Yes, he wasn't open, but you threw him open, so we'll give you a couple bonus points there. But like a smarter decision would have been this or whatever.
Because I agree with JJ's sentiment in general. Like that's whack that it was graded that way. But he was also saying like PFF sucks and this and that. And I think it sounds like in the research I was doing yesterday that like former coaches work for PFF, and it's like some coaches even use PFF to like boost their rankings. So I was kind of upset that JJ said that because I think that's whack. He's got a big audience, so that can like misinform. Not that I'm super informed on PFF, but PFF seems pretty legit. I mean, NBC uses that when they're introducing players and shit like that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But I agree with the sentiment of CJ Stroud and Jordan Love, though. That is weird that they were like 15 points apart. And to Tim's question, I'd probably take Stroud only because you could tell me maybe Jordan Love is a bit of a product of LaFleur. But at the same time, Love can make every single throw. He's super poised. What's the age difference between the two?
I think Love's 24, 25.
I think Jordan Love's 25 and CJ Stroud's 22, but let me check that.
sounds
I don't
about
think
right.
CJ Stroud, I think, turns 20. Actually, I think he might be even 21. I think he might turn
He's
22 in
22.
October.
Stroud is
he's turning
22.
20.
Love is 25.
Okay, and then he turns 23 in October.
Bonus to CJ Stroud, you get to reset the rookie QB clock. They have a few more years, 3 more years of rookie QB, because Jordan Love's already on that new extension. He's on that 1 year, $30 million deal or whatever. They got to pay him. But CJ, you get a few years out of him.
Earned
You
himself a
get 4 more
payday.
years of team
Texans can
control.
load up on that team.
Exactly.
They can absolutely load up.
They will. I think they've got
Yeah.
$70 million worth of cap for them. Whatever.
That's what you do.
nuts.
And-
you get the rookie quarterback that balls out. That's what Burrow did. That's how they got to the Super Bowl. Mahomes, the same thing. You get Hill and Kelce. Like, that's what you do.
By eliminating
I do want to say one.
Drop too.
Go ahead, Tim.
the
Okay.
Browns, they have their first round pick, so that actually pushed their pick down. So if they would have lost, the Browns obviously would have had a worse pick, but the Texans have that pick because of the Sean trade. So
Yeah. So fun stuff.
I think I'd pick Stroud over Love because I think Stroud elevates his receivers. Because Nico Collins wasn't like a great receiver before, with granted he was with Davis Mills and, cats like that. But, he elevated him and Tank Dell, also as well too. And, Noah Brown and John Mechie. And so I think he elevates the guys around him.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Not that Jordan Love hasn't elevated his guys, because obviously we saw what they did with Aaron Rodgers last year, and then we see what he's doing this year. The offense looks much better, and I think that has a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers' arrogance and not wanting to run the offense that LaFleur is calling, and it's just showing kind of how great of a play caller LaFleur is. But last list, and then we can, if we have anything else, we can go from there. But top 8 teams. I've got the Bucks at 8, Tampa Bay Bucks at 8, the Houston Texans at 7, the Green Bay Packers at 6, the Kansas City Chiefs at 5, the Buffalo Bills at 4, Detroit Lions at 3, the San Francisco 49ers at 2, and the Baltimore Ravens at 1.
Lions are probably the most explosive team, but you could talk me into Bills over the Lions at 3 and 4. But overall, I'm not mad at it, especially if the Lions actually do take care of business this weekend. Then I definitely can't hate it. But the Lions, it's just one of those things you just never know with a type of team like that, where they should. We've seen them kind of falter. I mean, honestly, their loss to the Packers mid-season, that doesn't look as bad anymore, right? With the Packers being in the divisional round. But it was just a couple of weeks ago, they were fighting for their life with the Vikings and what's homie's name? Who would they start at QB that day? Nick Mullins, I think it was.
It was Mullins, yeah.
So, I mean, they're not exactly Jekyll and Hyde. They're not trick or treat necessarily, but they definitely can lose you one. They still can lose you one. And that's not to say the Bills won't either. I mean, they're not the strongest team, especially on defense. But, I look at Buffalo as they've been playing playoff games for the last 6-7 weeks. So they're kind of used to this. So I'd have them ahead of the Lions, maybe in that regard. But Lions are pretty well-rounded, especially when you look at what their defense did in the red zone. You give them props a little bit for that defense. I know we had them all like 7 or 8 in your defensive ranking, but they can at least, get some playmakers. And, yeah, their offense is just completely explosive.
Brandon, your thoughts on it?
I agree with Kyle. I think, Kansas City, you can kind of raise them up a little bit or knock them down a couple notches. I think Baltimore and San Francisco are the top 2 teams. Baltimore 1, San Francisco 2. Yeah, I really don't have any issues with the list.
Okay. And then, Timmy, you?
I think if we're talking about chances of making it or winning the Super Bowl, I think the Lions are a little bit too high. But if anything, they're 4 or 5 at worst. Just because they have to play the 49ers, most likely, if that's how all these things work out. And if they don't, they play a divisional opponent in the Packers, which is also scary. So that being said, and then they got to play a great team in the AFC. So it's tough route for the Lions here. So I'd probably put them down a little bit. Definitely favor the Bills over the Lions, I think.
Okay. Well.
So, Keenan, just to check one more time before we sign off.
Yeah.
You wouldn't put 50 down on the Packers? You're not that confident?
No, God,
He's trying to milk you.
So now I'm wondering. Now I'm just wondering how confident you are. Now
I'm
just
putting
confused.
25 is. I mean, I wanted to put 20, but I'm $5 is $5. I'm gonna go 25. I'm not going 50 on that. Are you kidding?
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right.
No. I know. I'm not even saying that. I'm not going 50 on that. Like, listen, it's an upset. They're literally favored by 9.5. It's an upset. I'm picking the upset here, and I understand that. So, on paper, the 49ers absolutely should win, but that it is what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, when I win, I will expect the 125 in total at some point. I won't rush on it.
So also, hey, are you coming up for the Super Bowl? I mean, if you're coming down, then possibly I could just on the pod just hand it to you.
Not only will I be there Super Bowl weekend, I found out the day I'm flying out is actually NBA trade deadline day. So notoriously, between Brandon and Steven, Esteban Damos, that's like my Woj and my Shams on trade deadline day. Like everything I miss on Twitter, Brandon Petty or Esteban Ramos, they got it for me. So I'm sure I'll get off a flight to
KD
World of
to
News
the Golden State Warriors. Here we come.
That was your prediction. That was your prediction.
Brandon prediction.
Really?
Prediction.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They're both in shambles. I think they got to make a move.
Yeah.
We'll save that for
another. See how
another.
this NBA season shakes out, because if you would have told me the Lakers, Suns, and Warriors would be at this point right now, I would not have believed you.
No, absolutely not. And if you would have told me the Clippers and James Harden project was going to work out well so far, yeah. But I'm again, Clippers. It's coming down at some point. I'm just waiting for the fall. But we'll talk. We'll talk. We're waiting for. We saw it in Brooklyn. We saw it in Philly. We've seen this before. It goes up and then it goes down. The second James Harden is
crashing down.
The second James Harden thinks he needs to shoot more shots, it's going down. But this was the Warner Brothas Podcast. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on. Great to have you. Timmy, great to have you as always. Kyle, you have to be I'm just kidding. Great to have you as always as well. Great to have you always as well. Again, this is one of the most fun shows, predicting these playoff games, divisional round. Hopefully it's going to be the best, or if not one of the best weekends of the entire football season. We'll be back on Monday. You will see it on Tuesday to give our thoughts on the weekend games, and we are out.
Like a man.